All right, well, yeah, that's not working. Okay. Ayacheke tepewe neolaka koke, akuka wains wa ane, nehe nila Myaamia, nehe mekandama wake, Myaamia misha nippon nakane. So I just said, hello everybody, my name is Stella Beerman. I am a citizen of the Miami tribe of Oklahoma, and I also serve as the communication specialist for the Myaamia Center here. I'm also an alumni of the Myaamia Heritage Award Program. And just before we get started here, I wanted to say thank you to all of you for sticking around with us till the end here. I think we often hear this is one of the favorite presentations of the day, and I'm really excited to hear from this group of students. So following my predecessors who have done this presentation before, it only feels fair to share a little bit about myself before I ask these students to share about their experiences. It feels a little bit like, how can I make this about me? So like I just said, I attended Miami University through the Heritage Award Program from 2018 until 2022. I majored in journalism and digital communication while I was here. And I often say that I loved this experience so much that I decided not to leave. But in a very real way, the experience had such a huge impact on me that when the opportunity arose to stay and work for the tribal nation, the decision to say yes to that was very easy. So before I attended Miami University through the Heritage Program, I had actually grown up attending the Awan Zapata summer youth programs in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So that picture up there, you may recognize Gretchen, my cousin, right next to me. That's us as youth at the camps, and then that's us at Gretchen's graduation from the Heritage Program in 2023. So as you can tell, the Myamia Center has been a big part of our lives since we were little kids. The youth programs were a great introduction to language and culture, but for me personally, it felt like at times I was maybe pretending to be Myaamia or didn't quite understand what we were doing there. But that switch really flipped for me when I attended Miami University. I just found myself developing really meaningful connections with the people in my community, and slowly but surely, Myaamia culture was seeping into every single part of my life. All of a sudden, I was living with Myaamia people. I realized there's only been 2 years of my whole life that I haven't lived with at least one Myaamia person. I was speaking the language every day with those people, and I just had the tools to incorporate the culture into my everyday life thanks to the Heritage Program. So working here, I was actually on this panel as a student in 2022. So up here moderating it really feels like a full circle moment, but also just a huge honor to work with the center and watch future cohorts of Myaamia students find their same sense of belonging. So that feels like enough about me. Let's hear from our panelists. I'm just gonna have each of them start by introducing themselves, sharing their name, where they're from, their major or minor here at the university, and then what year they're in. So you guys can take it away.
Ayacheke asanza mokwa nehe sanza wenzwaane, ki kayonge minutiane. Hey everybody, my name is Savannah Strack. I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana. I am a double major in math and secondary mathematics education, and I'm a junior this year.
Ayacheke. Pinjinza Nehe Sydney Wainswayane, Campfield, Ohio, A Minutiane. Hi everybody, my name is Sydney. I'm from Campfield, Ohio. I'm a senior here, and I am majoring in kinesiology with a minor in nutrition.
Aya, Mia Wainswiane, Cicero, Indiana, and Minutiane. Hi everyone, my name is Mia. I'm from Cicero, Indiana. I'm currently a senior and I will be graduating with a double major in computer science and entrepreneurship.
Aya, Kikandanga Nehe Kai Wainswiane, Waha, and Minutiane. Hi y'all, I'm Kai, or Kikandanga. I'm from Oxford, Ohio. I'm a microbiology and botany major. I'm a freshman.
Newe. I actually forgot to mention before we get started, there's trail mix over at the Living Well table. So if you're feeling a little peckish here at the end of the day, please go grab some from them. So this next question is also for all of our panelists here, and I was just hoping they would tell us a little bit about why they decided to attend Miami University.
Like so many of us who go here, I had older relatives, mainly just older cousins, who came through the program and would come home during Thanksgiving and New Year's, and they would tell me all about their experiences here, and I just knew I wanted to be a part of that one day. And had it not been for, Miami, that wouldn't have been possible. Obviously, the scholarship is nice, but had it not been for that, I probably would have attended a more local college to Fort Wayne. I am really glad, though, that I got to come here for that experience.
I had a very similar situation. So my older sister, Kaiten, she came here, and I was able to come and visit. The first time I was here, I think I was 13. So I've been coming here for a little while now, and I wanted to get the same experience that she got to have while she was in the program.
Unlike them, I have no relatives or siblings that went through the program. And I actually didn't even know that the Myaamia Heritage Award Program was an option. When I was applying to colleges, I'm from Central Indiana, and I went to a super big high school with a really big graduating class. And so I knew lots of people that went to IU and Purdue, and I didn't really want to relive my high school experience in college. And then same thing with post-grad, like everyone moves to the same cities. So I was not really interested in that. So when I was looking for academics, I really liked Miami's campus size. And then when I was applying in, it was like, oh, do you have a tribal ID number? And I was like, oh, yeah, my mom has one of those. I'm pretty sure I have one too. And then Kara reached out to me and I learned about the program, and then you hear about the scholarship and just the opportunity to learn. It was really an exciting opportunity for me to gain all this knowledge and share it back with my family, who has been so disconnected from the community for so long.
So the two most practical reasons would have to be that Miami University is extremely close to where I live, as well as the financial support offered by the tribe is really phenomenal. But I think much bigger reason for me was that I grew up seeing other students in the heritage program. Sometimes I would hide behind desks while Nusa was educating, or fall asleep under a table, and I got to see a lot of students go through the program and see what it did for them and the community that they got to experience while they were here. And so from a very young age, I really, really craved that same thing for myself.
Nay way. So Kai and Sydney, I was hoping you two could share a little bit about the ways you interacted with the Myaamia community or your Myaamia identity prior to attending the university, and how that has affected your experience in the Heritage Award Program.
So prior to this program, I attended a couple of the Ewan Zapata summer youth programs. So going with that, I didn't really understand the significance behind what I was learning at that point, being, 13, 14 years old. So coming here has been a really amazing opportunity to really get to grow in that learning.
So prior to the Heritage Program, my dad had me in the Myaamiaki program since I think middle school age. So I did that for quite a while. I just completed the program with Myaamiaki recently, as well as going to annual events, winter gathering, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, no way. So as I'm sure many of you can relate to, our expectations of how something may go can often shape our experience in the situation. And some of our students come into this program really not having much experience or knowledge about the Myaamia community at all. And then others come in with a lot of experience. So I was curious, Mia and Savannah, what did you expect to learn in the Myaamia Heritage courses, and how has that been similar or different from what you expected?
I honestly didn't know what to expect when I walked in. I did know, I was hoping that I would attain, obviously, some sort of cultural knowledge, which I did, but enough to come home and share that with my family like my older cousins did for me. What I did not expect to find was the family that I found here on campus and that community that I wouldn't trade anything for.
Same thing. I had zero clue what any topics I would be learning. I assumed I would learn some cultural significance of historical events, location, geographical things to this area, Kikayonge and Fort Wayne, and kind of like stories my grandpa had told me growing up as a kid. I had no idea the immense amount of knowledge that I would gain attending all 3 of the classes and community events. I think it was definitely way different than I expected. Like the amount of knowledge that I have learned in various topics of like language, culture and history, ecology. Like now I walk to class, I'm like, oh, that's a new pawpaw tree. Like it's grown since the last time I walked this way to campus. Or, my roommate's cars last year, we had a black walnut tree, and they're like, what are these things that keep falling on my car? And I'm like, let me tell you about them. So kind of like, I would never have thought that, or like walking around campus, and I'm also a tour guide on campus, so thinking about like the significance of the lands and being able to share that with other people who are thinking about coming to Miami. Like now it comes up, and I would say like topics multiple times a week of the information that I've learned and I get to share with other people. And I never would have thought that like I would like to talk about like what I've learned in my Myaamia classes more than, oh, I coded this in my computer science classes. Like I definitely thought that was going to be my topic of interest and knowledge and sharing, but I find way more value in being able to connect with what I've learned and the Heritage Program and all of the topics, especially like talking about like government and what I've learned and how it's changed over the years, or language revitalization, like being able to share that you've learned that and you know some of the language and you understand like how words are being created, I think is definitely, I did not think that I was going to learn that at all, which I love it.
Yeah, so now that we've heard a little bit about the heritage courses, we're going to switch gears to thinking a little bit more generally about how students experience the heritage program. So Kai and Sydney, I was hoping you two would share a little bit about how what you learn in the, that is supposed to say Myaamia Heritage course, changed the way you experience your other coursework.
So obviously, every student at Miami has access to some kind of advising, either honors advising or just general advising. I think the big difference for me between what I would have had access to with or without the Heritage Program is the level of comfort and security I feel during like counseling with Kara. Because when it comes to CAS advising, for example, I'm not familiar with that person at all. The atmosphere is completely professional. I'm usually on a Zoom call. I'm not even in the same room with them. When I go to counseling at the Heritage Program, I'm in the Tribe Center, which is a space I'm very familiar with, and I'm talking to someone who I've known most of my life. So I'm very comfortable, and because of that, I'm able to be much more honest. And when you're honest with an advisor, you get, believe it or not, much better advice and response. So I think that's the big difference for me is just like comfort and honesty.
Since being in the program, I found myself making more connections with what I'm learning in my K&H and nutrition courses to what I've been learning in the Myaamia Heritage course. So that's been a great opportunity to get to do that. I'm also going to be going into healthcare, and so I will be seeing a bunch of patients that come from a very diverse group or background. So being able to actually be immersed in that myself, I feel like has made me more aware of other people's situations and what they might be going through as well.
Anyway, so aside from required coursework in the Heritage Program, Myaamia students are also encouraged to attend cultural workshops, trips, and events throughout their time here at Miami University. Many of our students choose to serve as counselors for the Miami Tribe Summer Youth Programs, attend winter gathering or annual meeting in Miami, Oklahoma, and so many more opportunities. So I was going to ask Savannah to share a little bit about the impact of some of those activities she's experienced outside of the Heritage Program.
Yeah, so I went to my first winter gathering last year, and that was an amazing experience. I loved it so much. I went again this year. It was awesome. And then this year will be my third year as a counselor for the Fort Wayne and Myaamiaki camps, and my second year as an Oklahoma counselor for the camps. Working with Myaamia youth and just giving them, that's bad. I found that spending my time with Myaamia youth and sharing that knowledge that I've attained at school has been a really enjoyable experience. Another thing that has been really cool is Pekatamenge. There were a few seniors last year who I considered to be older brothers to me, and they ran lacrosse every Sunday for tribe students. And now that they're graduated, I decided that I was gonna take that over. And it's been really great just to start building that community up again, being that older person for those lower classmen.
So last summer, a group of our students actually had the opportunity to participate in something called the Akamanza internship. You may have heard earlier that Akamanza means a young leader in our community. And that internship brought that group of Myaamia students to Washington, D.C. to share Myaamia language and culture at the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. And leading up to that experience, those students also received about 6 weeks of intensive language and cultural training, as well as served as counselors for both the summer youth programs in Miami, Oklahoma, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. And Sydney was one of our Akamanza interns, so I was hoping she would tell us a little bit about that experience.
The whole internship was just really unique. It was something that had never been done before, so being able to be a part of that was actually amazing. We were able to spend a couple of months just truly, immersed in the culture, and so besides, just having our regular courses and all of those types of things, it was the only thing that we were really focusing on along with our peers. So that was really amazing. For the Smithsonian Folklife Festival, we were able to interact with the general public and really spread awareness about the Myaamia culture. So that was, an amazing thing to be a part of.
Newe. All right. So students and alumni of the Heritage Program often describe a formative experience that has shifted the way they view their Myaamia identity, or maybe just their identity overall. These are often things like connecting with other people in the tribal community, going to a specific event, finding a piece of culture that really matches their own skills or interests, and a variety of other things. So Mia, I was curious if you've had any experiences here that have shifted your perspective.
So I have 2.5. So it's actually picture behind me is at winter gathering. And I would say the first time I went to winter gathering was sophomore year. And this was my first time ever at a large community event with other nations and people from Indiana, Ohio, Oklahoma, all over. And I was definitely scared. I didn't go in with any close friends. I have no relatives in the program. So the first time going there was whoa, this is awesome, so cool. Eating Myaamia foods, doing huge community stomp dances, hearing the language and the presentations was super cool. And then the second time, I've gone 3 times, so the second time I went, and then people in the community from all over then remembering you and engaging with you, people that have gone through the program, people who are a part of work for the center or work for the tribe in Oklahoma, So I think like people remembering you and the community aspect was definitely very formative. Like, okay, I feel like I belong. Like people remember me being here and engaging in like other activities. And then the third one was the summer after my second winter gathering was when I worked A1 Zapata. I had never gone through the camps growing up, or like been exposed to the learning that you learned at the camps. So it was super cool to see like little tiny kids using like Myaamia language and communicating so efficiently with the language. That was really cool because I had never had that experience, or it's becoming a lot more like normal in the community that that's how they're communicating with numbers and general like, what's the term? Like language, like hi, bye, see you later, so good to see you, all in Myaamia Twenge. So that was super cool. And then, yeah, I think just being a camp counselor. And then again, like you see the little kids at community events and they remember you, or people that you were like their counselor for. So those are definitely the most like formative events of like where I've learned and also like learned from other people being in the same space as them.
Nayway. So another important aspect of the Myaamia Heritage Award is the holistic advising that students receive through the Myaamia Center. Our students meet with Kara Strauss at least once a semester to just check in about their academics, student life, and the adjustment to attending Miami University through the Heritage Program. So I was hoping Kai and Savannah could tell us a little bit about how that advising has impacted their experience here at the university.
The advising that I received at the Myaamia Center has made me feel really supported throughout my whole time here at Miami, I'd say. Honestly, any one of the Myaamia Center staff, I know I could come to with a question about my heritage or my culture, and they'll help me find the answer. Even if they themselves don't know the answer, they know someone who does, and they can point me in the right direction. So I would just say they have helped me throughout all 3 years here just to feel very supported in that.
So I believe I mistakenly answered this question on, I want to say the third slide. So should I go back and answer that one?
Sure, what was that one?
It was the coursework one.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about how what you've been learning in the heritage courses affects your other coursework?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So I think it's really easy in college, at least it's been my experience, it's been easy in college to think of this place just to get a piece of paper that allows you to be employed somewhere cool or that pays well. The heritage course is a great reminder every week that college is about more than that. It's also about just becoming a better version of yourself, a more complete version of yourself. So every Tuesday when I go to the heritage class, it's a moment for me to look around and be like, oh yeah, I'm also building an identity for myself here and becoming a more knowledgeable and helpful part of the Myaamia community. And then so I can take that into my other classes and try and think about how they can impact me beyond career advancement.
Yeah, nayway. All right, so for Sydney and Savannah, you two are two of our upperclassmen that are up here. So as our discussion here begins to wind down, I wanted to ask you to think a little bit about how your college experience may have been different if you didn't attend Miami University.
I think I personally would have felt very lost. Freshman year was hard for me in particular, which I feel is the case for most college students who are out on their own for the first time. Like, if I did go to a different college, my parents have said my entire life that I could make friends anywhere, which, yeah. But the friends and family that I found here in Tribe couldn't be replicated. It's them that shaped me into who I am today, so.
Coming to college, my main goal was to further my education and get my bachelor's degree and then move on to grad school, but I honestly could have done that anywhere. This type of experience only happens really here. There is not like another opportunity that I would have like taken over this. These 4 years have been amazing and have really shaped me. I've also gotten to do this whole thing with my sister, who is somewhere in this building, but not in here. Yeah, so just like getting to go through that with her and all of the other Myaamia students has just been like probably the best part of my college experience.
We're also a little bit ahead of schedule, which I feel like never happens at Myaamia events. So I wanted to see if Mia or Kai, if either of you had anything you wanted to share or add to that.
I think my college experience would have been completely different. My other two options were IU and Purdue. So Purdue is I'm computer science, so it'd be a lot of engineering. The campus is not very pretty. Sorry if anyone went there. IU is definitely a lot prettier, same vibe as Miami. But I just think, kind of like what Sansa said, I would have felt lost. Like there are so many students that go there to each of those schools. And I think it's really hard to like build community and find like true friends and people that will support you with that many students there, for me personally, especially like being in a classroom of like 400 people compared to like my classes are like 24 people. I think too, I definitely would not have liked that. I always know someone would support me. Like I have my academic advisor here. She's so nice and always has helped me, but it's really hard to connect with her besides like, here's 15 minutes. This is what you have to take the next 4 years. Good luck. Like it's very hard to like build a connection. But I think anytime you walk into a Myaamia space, whether that's like the student center, like in the student room or in the Myaamia Center or classroom or just like walking around campus, you feel like I automatically feel like welcomed and that like I belong here and I can talk to anyone. I think definitely there's like, it's very unique how I can go and connect with anyone no matter their age. And I think that's very different than like my department and like computer science. Like they're definitely willing to help you and they don't really share their knowledge as much as like you have to have an established relationship with them. But if I were to go ask anyone in the Myaamia Center a question, I know that they would welcome me with open arms. And if I was genuinely curious and had like questions that I needed answered, that they would help me or like help me find someone that could answer the question, whether it's about like family history or any topic my grandpa's ever told me that I thought were all fake stories, and then we learned them all in class. Like anything around there, I know someone would help me learn. So I think my experience would be completely different, and if I didn't have the support that I had at Miami University through the Heritage Award, I genuinely don't think I would have made it like through all 4 years of college.
That was kind of a perfect answer, but I'll try and add something. It's hard to imagine for me what college would have been like so far if I didn't go to Miami, because I was very set on going here from the get-go. But I would say if I went to a different college and I experienced a failure, which I hear sometimes happens, my immediate support structure would have been paper thin, maybe like non-existent. It takes a while to make good friends that you feel like you can share things with. And coming here, I immediately had that with multiple people who I knew already from the tribe, people I met in class who were immediately very amicable, very welcoming. And I think because of that, I felt very confident this first year that if I failed, if I made a mistake, I would always have people to rely on to get me back on my feet. I think at any other college, I would not have had that.
Yeah, Newe. So finally, for the last question I have planned for this session today, I was hoping that Mia and Savannah would tell us a little bit about how their view of their Myaamia identity has changed throughout their time in the Heritage Program and what has had the largest impact on that change. And again, I'll open that up to all of our panelists since we have the time.
So, like Stella kind of said at the beginning, I also walked into Miami knowing that I was Native, but sitting in class and not feeling Native enough. That's just where I was at. And throughout freshman year, it was the inclusion of just different workshops that we did and things like that, that I started to understand what it is to be Myaamia. And I had older upperclassmen who helped guide that along. So I'd say that the biggest impact in that is the community, for sure. Like, even just menial hangouts, playing cards, getting some food, that is, yeah. It wasn't too event focused or anything like that, but that's where the community was built for me, was within those hangouts and things like that. With most of them graduating, I've been trying to build that community as well with the lower classmen just a little bit, as much as I can. And yeah, I enjoy trying to build that community. Yeah, thank you.
My turn again. So like I've shared in my other answers, I never went to Ewan Zapata summer camps growing up. I'd only heard stories from my grandpa, gone to the powwow in Columbia City a couple of times in Indiana. And so I never really understood what it meant to be Myaamia. I think definitely that has been like a huge, or like felt comfortable sharing how I felt about it kind of thing. From the start of the Heritage Award, I didn't understand what it meant to be Myaamia, how you interact in the community, how like you learn and share like knowledge is responsibility, and that it's important that you share what you learn. So I think my view of my Myaamia identity has definitely changed drastically since the Heritage Award, just like how I've learned all of the information, how I've learned how to share the information. My relationship with my grandpa has definitely grown the strongest it's ever been by me coming to school, learning all of it, and being able to go back and talk to him about it. And definitely something that like everyone knows that I'm Myaamia, and if you ask me questions, I'll do my best to answer on base what I've learned in the last 4 years. So I think definitely like just being more comfortable with like sharing my identity and what I think it means to be Myaamia, as well as like sharing with other people who are not close to me. So like people who are on like tours, like I tell them like the history of the lands and that I'm in a unique program that doesn't exist anywhere else in the United States. And a lot of people, they come for an informational tour, they want to hear like the student to teacher ratio. And I'm like, so let me tell you about the Myaamia Heritage Program and why I chose Miami. So I think like when I first was a tour guide, I wasn't really comfortable like sharing that because I didn't feel like I knew enough about what it means to be Myaamia. I think too, like a lot of my professors in entrepreneurship department have worked like a couple of them have worked with the Myamia Center on campus, so they're very familiar and they know that I'm in that program. Whenever I speak in those classes, they're like, all right, share your major. And I'm like, oh, I'm a double major in computer science and entrepreneurship. And then they're like, what else? And I'm like, oh, I'm also a Myamia student here on campus. So I think it's completely changed like how I view my identity and how I share, like based on the knowledge I've learned in the last 4 years.
So I think coming into the Heritage Program, I was in perhaps a more unique situation where my Myaamia identity was already very solidified because I was just raised with a lot of Myaamia culture. I was told winter stories at bedtime, played moccasin around the house, stuff like that. But I think what I have been shown in the Heritage Program is that you can have a lot of knowledge, and that doesn't make you necessarily a strong member of the community. I think what I've been shown is that it takes a lot more than that. It takes connectedness with other people, and that you can know a lot, but if you don't know anyone, that doesn't amount to much.
Yeah.
So, like I said before, I attended a couple of the summer youth programs when I was 13, 14 years old. But in doing so, I was there and I wanted to color and I wanted to play lacrosse, and that was basically it. So getting to come here and really progress in my Myaamia identity has been amazing, and it's, something that just wouldn't have happened otherwise. And so, yeah, these past 4 years is just like an experience that you just wouldn't have anywhere else.
All right, well, Newe Cheke for sharing with us today, and I think I can speak for all of us when I say we're all extremely grateful for the existence of this program and for the work that goes into it by both the Miami tribe community and the Miami University community. I also want to thank all of you once again for sitting here and listening to us. If you want to learn more about the Myaamia Heritage Award Program, or you are a Myaamia person who's interested in enrolling in it, definitely come visit us at our